Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to News 3 Now Live at 4. It's Wednesday.
It is. We're just trudging through the week here. All of us, we're just kind of like, it's Wednesday.
It's August and there's a lot of vacations, so
yes.
We're all pulling double duty. But
we are a little
Danica's
bit.
here for Susan, so we'll get through it.
Happy to be here, really am.
All right, here's what's making news on this Wednesday. A classic Madison custard place is closing at least one of their locations after the owner's spouse was denied a U.S. visa.
Quintez Cephas has returned to the Badger football practice field for the first time since being acquitted of sexual assault charges. We'll hear from head coach Paul Christ.
And things look a little different outside of Camp Randall. The infamous Nails Tale sculpture has been taken down.
Oh, no? Oh, yes? We'll have that debate a little later.
Yeah, columnist Doug Moe will be here, and he's been a long critic of Nails Tales.
Yes, he has a very strong opinion. Let's take a look outside, though. We have the weather words today. Just a beautiful day out there today. Hopefully you got a little chance to get outside. Oh, so nice are the words we're choosing today. And Dana Fulton is outside on the weather patio, able to enjoy some of that oh, so nice weather. Dana?
It's supposed to be like a Mr. Food test kitchen, you know, ooh, so good. That's what Chris and I were going with that. So today it was really nice temperature-wise. Unfortunately, we've had a few more clouds hang around than what we were initially planning on, especially south of Madison. You can see with our visible cloud truck, the clouds really staying along the state line. Of course, very cloudy day down to the south. Some showers also in northern Illinois. None of those really crossing on up for us, though. Stayed dry, just not again as sunny as we would want. That's helped our temperatures stay a little cooler, though. About 76 currently in Madison, 79 in Lone Rock, 82 still in Janesville. But overall pretty comfortable compared to this time yesterday. A drop for most of the area, 9-degree drop in Mineral Point. Our dew points are close to 60. They will continue to fall as this cold front completely pulls away. And that does mean in the next several hours that our temperatures will, of course, continue to fall overnight. Plan on a sunny day tomorrow. We'll be in the mid-70s for afternoon highs for your Thursday. We'll take a closer look at what's ahead, though, for the rest of the work week and for this weekend in just a few minutes. Right now on the roads, no accidents to report. Here's a look at the Beltline at Fish Hatchery Road. Both east and westbound seem to be going along just fine. A little slower on the eastbound side, though. Around Verona, we're seeing a few delays. 151 right now, of course, a little backed up as more folks get on the road. Wanakee looks okay, as does near DeForest, and around Prairie du Sac City, we aren't seeing any delays right now. From Janesville to the Beltline, it'll take you 27 minutes, 17 to get from Sauk City to Middleton, and then 18 minutes to get from Sun Prairie to downtown on this cloudy but comfortable evening.
Yeah, and we'd like to see that humidity go down a little bit,
yes.
Dana, compared to yesterday.
If we can continue to drag that down, which is the plan for the next few days, it should be very nice by the weekend.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Top in our news today, a Madison institution of more than 3 decades is closing one of its locations for good next month.
Michael's Frozen Custard will close its Monroe Street shop, and as Rose Schmidt explains, it's due to a U.S. immigration policy, Rose.
Yes, an immigration attorney tells us that the owner of Michael's Frozen Custard might be forced to move to Mexico because his spouse, who is an undocumented immigrant, was denied a U.S. visa. Madison law firm Lotfee Legal announced today that the original location on Monroe Street will close on September 9th, and the other locations could have to follow. The owner, Michael Dix, married Sergio De La Hernandez in 2015, and shortly after, Dix sponsored Hernandez for a U.S. visa so he could become a U.S. citizen. Hernandez went to Mexico a year ago for his visa interview and was told he would not be given a visa and couldn't come back to the U.S. His lawyer says Hernandez had been in the country illegally for so long that he needed a waiver to come back to the country, and that waiver was recently denied.
When we got the denial, Michael was here, and then he instantly made arrangements to go to Mexico to be with Sergio. They're both devastated at this news. They were hoping for good news and that they could continue on with the process. I think they're both really fearful that Sergio will never be able to return.
The couple's attorney plans on filing an appeal to the decision in a few weeks, which could take 6 to 8 months. If that appeal is denied, Dix will likely be forced to close the other frozen custard locations and move abroad to be with his spouse. We reached out to the U.S. Department of State to find out why Hernandez's visa was denied, but they say they cannot comment on specific cases for confidentiality reasons. But a big loss to this community.
Well, and we will certainly be following this as it progresses. Thank you, Rose.
The Trump administration is rolling out a new plan designed to discourage migrant families from coming to the United States, while the president is speaking out against birthright citizenship. Katherine Johnson has the latest from the White House.
President Trump said Wednesday his administration is looking at ending the right of citizenship for the U.S.-born children of non-citizens.
You walk over the border, have a baby. Congratulations, the baby is now a U.S. citizen. It's frankly ridiculous.
The president's comments come hours after Acting Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kevin McAleenan announced new changes to the way the U.S. handles migrant children.
No child should be a pawn in a scheme to manipulate our immigration system.
The new regulations would effectively end the Flores Agreement, which requires the government to release detained migrant families into the U.S. within 20 days. Under the new plan, migrant families would stay together, but would be held indefinitely while judges consider their asylum request. So far this year, the federal government says almost 475,000 families have been apprehended or encountered at the southwest border, 90% of whom crossed illegally. The Trump administration calls the Flores Agreement outdated and says the changes are necessary because the current system is fueling the surge of migrants to the border.
By eliminating the incentive to make the journey to the United States as a family, the new rule will reduce the unprecedented volume of family units that has strained the already limited resources of our department components and put children throughout the region at risk.
The American Civil Liberties Union released a statement calling the new regulations yet another cruel attack on children, who the Trump administration has targeted again and again with its anti-immigrant policies, adding the government should not be jailing kids. Katherine Johnson, CBS News, the White House.
And the changes are set to take effect in 60 days and expected to face immediate court challenges.
President Trump is in Louisville, Kentucky this afternoon speaking to supporters and fundraisers. Meanwhile, he continues to insist the economy is strong even as he looks at tax cuts to give it a boost. This morning on Twitter, he blamed the media for doing everything possible to create a recession. Simultaneously, though, declining growth in and out of the country and geopolitical tensions are pulling down the economy. Despite signs the trade war with China may be taking a toll, President Trump insisted he's doing great with China and put the blame on the Federal Reserve chairman.
Jay Powell and the Federal Reserve have totally missed the call. He raised interest rates too fast, too furious.
The global economy and trade will be a high priority when Mr. Trump meets with world leaders at the G7 summit in France this weekend. Unemployment remains at 3.7%.
Del Monte Foods is selling its corn packing plant in Cambria. Parent company Del Monte Pacific Limited announced today it's also closing plants in north central Illinois and south central Minnesota, putting more than 900 employees out of work. The closures are part of a restructuring process that the CEO says, quote, is a necessary step for us to remain competitive in a rapidly changing marketplace. We'll have more on what the sale of the Cambria plant means for current employees later on News 3 Now. Well, 17 days until the Badger football home opener, and the Badgers are working to get a new addition to the team ready in time.
New sort of a return addition. Badger receiver Quintez Cephas had his first practice with the Badgers today since being acquitted on sexual assault charges. Kevin Lewis joins us now with what's next. Kev?
And they're happy for what's next. Linebacker Chris Orr told me it was like seeing a family member you haven't seen in a while. Running back Garrett Groshek said there was a lot of screaming and yelling. The Badgers are glad to have number 87 back on the field. Cephas took part in his first practice in his return to the team today. Head coach Paul Christ said it was a light workout. And they're not going to make any judgments as to whether or not he's going to be the same guy who played 2 years ago. They're just happy to have an impact player back on the squad.
All we wanted was for there to be, a resolution to it, for him to be able to move on should it be what it ended up being. And so I think there's an appreciation for that. For the players, it was one of their teammates, and they spend enough time, it's like a brother. And so I think there's always, an appreciation when, to have him back around.
His last game action was November 4th, 2017 against Indiana. He suffered a leg injury that ended his season, but he's been working out on his own almost nonstop over the past year. So there might be some ring rust, but he is not far away from being the player that he was, an impact player 2 years ago. And you're happy to get impact players back on your team in college football. Breaking news.
The season opener is next Friday away in South Florida.
It's South Florida in Tampa, yes.
And then the
tour of Michigan, central Michigan.
And the home opener is the 7th.
Yes, a week from, on a Saturday. Home opener, season opener is on a Friday this year, and then the next Saturday, yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so
all right,
my calendar's just
Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Happening now, Fitchburg police are warning people to keep their belongings in a safe place and locked up after a string of burglaries early this morning. Police responded to several reports of burglaries in a neighborhood near McKee Farms Park. Multiple home surveillance systems captured at least one man walking through backyards, that is, and approaching front doors. Police say it seemed like that suspect was searching for unlocked doors and windows. The department's now asking people to check home surveillance systems for unusual or suspicious activity around 2:30 this morning. So a much talked about sculpture has been removed near Camp Randall Stadium.
Nails Tales was taken down this morning at the corner of Regent Street and Breeze Terrace. Eric Franke has more about where it's going and what's happening in that area. Eric?
Well, to most UW alums and students, that area near Camp Randall Stadium and the historic UW Fieldhouse is pretty much sacred ground. And 14 years ago, up popped Nails Tales, and it has been a topic of debate ever since. Today, it was taken away and hauled off on a truck, the 48-foot-tall monument to football, not included in the plans to renovate the plaza area there at Breeze Terrace. The artist Donald Lipsky says the university has been in touch with him. He says they're working with him to find a new long-term home for Nails Tales. They're putting $1.8 million into renovating the plaza. That work begins early next year, and it will be done by the 2020 football season. They'll still be working to clear out the base of that sculpture before the home opener, as Kevin made us aware, September 7th, Central Michigan. But say what you will about old Nails Tales, Mark and Danica, loved or hated, it certainly was a piece of art that people talked about.
Yes, it certainly was a conversation starter. And Doug Moe will be along later to talk about it as well. Thanks, Eric.
You're welcome.
So there's more to come at 4 if you are thinking about using a filter on your tap water.
Consumers Reports will tell us if these filters do any good and which ones they recommend. That's when Live at 4 continues.
Welcome back. About 3 out of 4 working Americans are saving for retirement, but a new study finds not everyone is saving enough.
Yeah, a new survey from Bankrate.com finds 29% of people are increasing their retirement savings compared to last year, but half are contributing the same and 16% are saving less. A 35-year-old who puts $5,000 into a traditional IRA every year could have around $500,000 at age 65. But if that same person started contributing when they were 25, that retirement account could be $1 million.
If you're not saving at least 10% of your income for retirement, you need to get there pronto. And once you do, look to bump that up.
Experts say the goal is putting away a full 15% of your income to ensure you have enough to retire. Stocks moved higher today after a strong earnings report from Target. The Dow Industrials added 240 points to close at 26,202. The Nasdaq gained 71. The S&P 500 was up 23. Well, does your tap water taste a little funny? Well, you're not alone. According to a recent national survey done by Consumer Reports of over 4,000 Americans, 3 out of 10 people said they've experienced unpleasant taste and smells with their home tap water.
2 of every 5 Americans who drink tap water say they filter it first. Leah Linscheid in Consumer Reports looks at which filter gets the job done right.
Are you thirsty? A refreshing glass of water will do the trick. Unless, of course, that tap water doesn't taste or smell so good.
Most water in the U.S. is safe to drink, but it could contain compounds or chemicals that could make it taste metallic or salty or even smell a little funny.
Most of the pitchers Consumer Reports tested successfully took care of the smell, but only one pitcher earned an excellent rating for both flavor and odor reduction. That's the Pure Ultimate with lead reduction PPT711W. 2 others garnered a very good, the Pure Basic PPT700W and the Brita Strim Rapids 0B55.
No one filter does it all. Most pitchers will remove chlorine and elements that leave a bad taste, but very few actually remove lead.
In fact, only 2 pitchers that Consumer Reports tested actually claim to filter out lead. If there are serious contaminants in your water, a water pitcher filter may not be enough to solve your problem. One last thing you want to be aware of when shopping for a new water filter pitcher is how long it takes to filter the water.
The Brita Strim Rapids filtered 1 quart of water in just 1 minute and 15 seconds. In comparison, the lead-removing Pure Ultimate took nearly 15 minutes to filter a quart. It's definitely a factor to consider if you have a thirsty household that goes through a lot of water every day.
For News 3 Now, this is Leah Linscheid.
Consumer Reports also wants to remind you to replace that filter in the pitcher as often as the manufacturer recommends. That's usually every 2 months or 40 gallons. And new filters generally cost $5 to $15.
That might be worth it.
Yeah, I always forget to do that. And
Do change the filter?
Yeah, and you're wondering, why is this not working
it's not
anymore?
doing any good at that point.
It's been a long time.
Well, there's more to come at 4, including a complete look at your first alert forecast.
And tonight at 5, hear from a registered dietitian about what kids should be eating for an after-school lunch.
You're watching News 3 Now, live at 4.
Well, take a look at this. For the second night in a row, a squirrel found its way onto the middle of the White Sox-Twins game, and for the second night in a row, it brought good fortune for Minnesota. The squirrel was first spotted running down the first base line toward the home plate, running between Max Kepler's legs on his way to the White Sox dugout. After his brief visit with Chicago, the squirrel made its way into the stands, scurrying around fans' feet before hopping back into the outfield and disappearing into a hole. Now, after the appearance of the rally squirrel, that's what they're calling it,
yes,
the Twins would score 4 runs in the inning to take the lead.
Rally squirrel.
Good luck squirrel.
I guess so.
Yeah. So
they should mark it and see if the same one's just coming back over and over. Put a little jersey
and
on him.
They put the radar gun on. He was going 28 miles an hour.
Wow.
That's pretty good.
You go, squirrel.
That's pretty great.
Give that squirrel a contract. All right, firefighters in Tripolo County responded to a pretty unusual rescue. A cow taking a little dip.
This happened in Ettrick, a village with a population of right around 500 people. They were able to get the cow out of the pool, thankfully, and back home to safety.
What's Bessie doing? Taking a dip?
Taking a little, I'm sure that was a bit of a surprise. The cow was just walking around all of a sudden.
You'd have to double take it. Make sure you weren't.
It looks like there might be steps in the corner there, right?
Right, so we were debating on whether or not cows can go up steps.
They can go down.
They can go down, but they can't, right?
That was probably a difficult rescue if they can't go up.
They got her out.
They probably took a team. I like the whole squad standing around
all
right.
This is a thing now.
What do you want to do?
Didn't realize we'd be doing this
3,
today.
2, 1, lit.
Not a bad evening for a dip.
No, not at all. It's a little cloudy outside, but still really pleasant summery for us. Temperatures are in the mid to upper 70s. Aside from the few clouds, should be a really nice evening. The next few days we get a little more sunshine, but we'll take a closer look at what's ahead through the weekend right after the break. Again, right now it's not too bad outside at all, just a little cloudy. Unfortunately, we're not getting a lot of sunshine coming on through. Here's a live look with our Queen Bee Radio sky cam from Platteville. No rain, just the clouds. The showers right now are all down south in northern Illinois. They're dealing with some heavier rain, some isolated thunderstorms also towards central Illinois. We're at about 76 in Madison, a breeze coming from the north-northwest. Of course, there's a little cooler air coming through, so those temperatures are just a little bit below average. The wind speed not enough to really notice it at about 9 miles per hour, but our dew point's the low 60s. That means it's quite comfortable outside. That cold front is now to the south. We have high pressure steadily ridging on in. It's going to keep things mostly quiet, not just for tonight, but through the rest of your work week and as we head into the weekend. Compared to this time yesterday, we're all in a much more comfortable place. Dew points have dropped significantly throughout the northern Midwest. So our breeze coming from the north-northwest overnight will stay mostly clear throughout the state. Thursday also mostly sunny, and then by Friday we still have that mostly sunny sky. Your weekend pattern isn't going to shift at all. It'll be a really nice stretch of days heading into the weekend. Our next chance for rain doesn't move in until the start of next week. Again, that severe potential right now is really right along that cold front boundary stretching through the southern plains, the southern portion of the Midwest. They'll be dealing with some storms overnight, but nothing moving in our direction as that high pressure is going to keep things pretty calm and quiet. Overnight low temperatures will drop to the mid-50s, so it'll be quite a bit cooler to start off the day for Thursday. Again, that breeze coming from the north, it'll be mostly clear early in the morning. Tomorrow, definitely plan on quite a bit more sunshine. It'll be mostly sunny sky, and then we have a few clouds in the afternoon, but overall things should be pretty quiet for us during the day. Friday also mostly sunny, ending this last week before a lot of kids have to head back to school. Almost said work, not yet, just school. We'll have a mostly sunny sky through Friday and again a few clouds building in the afternoon, but it will stay nice and quiet for us temperature-wise. Also a little cooler, a little below average for both days. Now, because we do have a clear sky overnight, we'll drop quite a bit right after sunset down into the 60s and then rapidly falling through the 60s and the mid-50s for our overnight lows. Our breeze will steadily shift to become a little more of a northeast flow by tomorrow morning. Now we are going to see a partly cloudy sky and cooler temperatures to start off the Thursday. Not really looking at much fog potential for us just because our temperatures are going to be quite a bit lower and our dew points aren't nearly as high as what they have been for the last several mornings. Again, our breeze staying pretty light. Tomorrow, plan on our high temperatures in the mid-70s, mostly sunny sky, but still very, very pleasant outside for Thursday. We stay in the mid-70s for Friday with that mostly sunny sky. By this weekend, we're in the upper 70s, partly sunny for both Saturday and Sunday. No rain chances coming in for this weekend. By Monday, though, we are going to have our next system move on through, and that's going to bring the chance for some showers and thunderstorms. Scattered showers and storms expected on Monday, and then more of just a chance for showers and thunderstorms on Tuesday. Temperatures for the start of next week will warm out just a little bit. We'll be back into the 80s for Monday and Tuesday. It's really just going to be humid outside there for the start of the week. Behind that system, though, of course, we drop right back down. Our high temperatures will be in the mid-70s for the middle and end of next week, and we get some sunshine back in the forecast. And speaking of it, that's just a quick look at your weather.
All right, Dana, thank you. Ever since it was first installed on November 4th, 2005, the Nails Tale sculpture outside of Camp Randall has been the target of debate.
Debate, indeed. As we reported earlier, the sculpture was taken down today to make room for remodeling of the Camp Randall Plaza.
Madison magazine columnist and former writer for the Wisconsin State Journal has been a critic of this work of art ever since it went up on campus. A smiling Doug Moe joins us now. What were you thinking today when that thing came down?
Well, I think it was more a couple of months ago when we heard that it actually was going to come down, was the moment where it was the end of something. And then today somebody Instagrammed me the video like really early this morning, so they didn't waste any time.
It took like 15 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely the end of something. You know, I'm not gloating so much because one thing, Donald Lipsky, the artist, you know, he should have every reason to hate me, and he probably does, because I wrote probably a dozen columns about it over the years, first for the newspaper, then for the magazine. But he's actually been kind of gracious throughout this. If you followed it in the last year or so, he said, you know, I'll work with them to find another locale and this sort of thing. And he was great fun on opening day, you know, that November 4th in '05. I was there that day, and he was like a proud papa passing out cigars, you know, almost at the unveiling, even though some people I remember across the street at Mickey's Dairy Bar, Hank Reese had been interviewed by TV. And I said, what'd you tell him? And he said, I was kind and called it a monstrosity.
Wow.
And that was being kind.
So,
holy smokes.
The history of this thing, I mean, it wasn't a surprise. I mean, this went through committees and public arts and all of that stuff.
It was a percent for art program, I think, that the state had started, where if you had a big renovation like they did at Camp Randall, it had to commit some money to public art. And it was in 6 figures for this sculpture, and the Wisconsin Arts Board had a committee that looked at it, and one of them, Jim Carley, the late Jim Carley, developer here in town, was there that day when they unveiled it, and he was beaming. I remember Alan Fish, former UW administrator, who was sort of in charge of everything. He was a little more, well, we had a mixed reaction.
Yeah.
And you know, when I wrote about it, every time, and I kept writing about it because the reaction was so great. You know, there were so many, you know, just nothing drew as much emails and phone calls as writing about that sculpture.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, how did those lay out? I mean, percentage-wise?
It was highly negative.
Really?
You know?
Toward you or toward the statue?
Okay.
Agreeing with you.
Right, agreeing with me.
Sure.
But there was, to be fair, there was always maybe 1 in 10 who said, you know, it's a talking point, you know, it's public art's supposed to be controversial, that sort of thing.
I was going to say, it sparked debate about public art, which we haven't done in a long time.
Yeah, if only it just wasn't so ugly.
And what was it supposed to be?
What Lipsky told me that first day was, Al Fish told me to project something powerful.
Oh,
you know?
well.
And of course, I remember Ron McCrae, the city editor of the Cap Times, I didn't quote him by name, but at the end of my story that first day, he said, I know what we got to call it, Buckingham Phallus.
There you go. I hadn't heard that one yet. That's a good one.
It's a good one.
So, Doug, they're looking for a new spot for this, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't know where.
Is there a new spot for this?
You know, I was thinking about that on the way over because I figured you'd ask. And my idea, I guess, is in front of the Humanities Building at University and Park, because I can't think of another structure that has received, shall we say, the same accolades over the years.
Another monstrosity.
Yeah, our friend John Roach said it should go under the bridge at Seminole Highway to prop it up.
Oh, yeah, Sally Sagan down.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
An end of an era, I guess.
It is that.
Gave us something to talk about for a long time. Doug, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks, you guys.
Still to come at 4, millions of people have their wisdom teeth pulled every year.
And they are often prescribed opioids to deal with the pain. That can be dangerous, and we'll find out what some dentists are prescribing instead when Live at 4 continues. Looking live downtown this afternoon. Dana mentioned the clouds out there, but overall it's pretty pleasant. So if you haven't gotten outside yet today, maybe find a few minutes to. The humidity will continue to go down throughout the week. Yeah, good news. So about 5 million Americans have their wisdom teeth removed every year.
Meg Oliver has more on the dangers of painkiller addiction following that surgery and what patients and parents need to know.
Ellen Early's daughter, Sage, was a young mother doting on her 16-month-old son, Julian. In 2017, the 22-year-old needed to have her wisdom teeth removed.
The dentist prescribed the opioids.
Right.
Did he give any warning?
No. No warning, no nothing. In fact, he said, I think they gave her a 5-day supply, and he said, if you need more, just let me know.
Sage quickly became dependent, getting several refills before she found something else.
How quickly did it go from opioids to heroin?
Almost immediately.
Just 15 months after having her wisdom teeth removed, Sage overdosed and died in an airport bathroom on her way to a 4th round of rehab.
It was shocking, and she was gone, but mostly gone from Julian. That was the shocking part.
Dr. Chad Brummett studies pain at the University of Michigan. He says despite research that shows a combination of acetaminophen and ibuprofen is superior to treat pain, dentists are still prescribing too many opioids to young adults.
For many, dental care, such as wisdom teeth extraction, is the first opioid exposure. Could be like 50,000 kids each year becoming new chronic opioid users after just something simple like a wisdom tooth extraction.
Dr. Brummett's research found that simply filling an opioid prescription after wisdom tooth surgery more than doubled the odds of continued use among patients who had never used those painkillers before. In light of the epidemic, the American Dental Association has released updated guidelines recommending use of alternative pain relievers and a maximum 7-day supply when opioids are necessary. Ellen Early hopes more families learn about the alternatives to opioids after dental surgery. Almost a year after Sage's death, her grandson keeps asking when his mom is coming back.
He'll take me into her room and say, well, let's just wait. Let's just wait for Mama
to come home. That must break your heart.
Oh, absolutely.
Julian is now 3 and will start preschool this fall. Dr. Brummett, the University of Michigan researcher, told me it's still common practice for oral surgeons to write that backup prescription, but he says it's misguided and potentially detrimental. Meg Oliver, CBS News, New York.
And the American Dental Association says after updating its guidelines advising against prescribing opioids, dentists wrote almost 500,000 fewer prescriptions in 2017 compared to 5 years earlier. That's good news.
That is good news, because those drugs are not messing around.
Gotta be careful.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, still to come at 4, there is plenty of time left this summer, and there are some late blooming plants to keep alive this season.
Lisa Briggs from the Bruce Company is here to show us how to update our containers to keep them looking good through the fall holiday. That's when Live at 4 continues.
No accidents to report again, always a good thing. Here's a look at the Beltline right at Fish Hatchery Road. East and westbound, we are seeing a few delays. Eastbound, just a little more than the westbound side. Those speeds reduced down to the teens there, stretching from Fish Hatchery Road all the way through John Nolan. Of course, the closer you are to Gammon, at about 60 miles per hour, things look okay. Around Sauk City, there are a few delays there on 12 heading into downtown, but once you get through, things look just fine. Around Lake Wisconsin, no delays either. From Janesville to the Beltline, it'll take you about 26 minutes, 16 minutes to get from Sauk City to Middleton, and from Sun Prairie to downtown, it'll be about a 19-minute drive this evening. That's a quick look at traffic.
All right, thank you. More than 2,000 performers took part in the 50th anniversary of the famous Hungary Flower Carnival. Trucks were decorated with colorful dahlias supplied by the Netherlands. A procession of 18 flower trucks drove through the main street, accompanied by dancers and street performers. More than 14 nations take part in the carnival every year.
It was a busy, busy carnival. There's some more flowers. There was a lot of dancers when you were reading there.
Nice, Lisa.
Yeah.
Flowers are still in bloom.
Yes, that's quite the segue, isn't it?
Summer winding down, but it's not over, right?
It's not over.
She did not bring her parade float today. Sorry.
It's parked in the driveway.
Yeah.
Lisa Briggs from the Bruce Company is here. We can keep our gardens looking good through the fall.
If you were like me and made some unwise choices in your containers this spring, they might be looking a little, I don't know, ratchety.
Little ratchety.
Every time I go to put the key in the lock, I say, "Oh, what were you thinking?"
Oh, janky.
So what's the solution here?
So it's time to put some things in, and since the temperatures are cooling down, since we have a cooling trend, it's a good idea to put in some things that will give you the best bang for your buck for the longest time. So you want to move on to cool weather annuals.
We're talking like end of October that go to
Yes,
November.
some of these things will go to Thanksgiving if we don't have a super hard freeze. So we're talking about a lot of the same things that we planted in the early spring. So pansies, lobelia, but a lot of people in the fall, their fancy turns to mums. And they're fine and they're really pretty, but there are lots of other choices.
Boring.
So they're a little bit
boring.
A little bit. I would say that when you buy your mums, to buy them when they look like this rather than when they're all flowered out, because they'll last a lot longer when they look like this.
But these are a one-shot deal. These aren't the ones you put in the ground and they come back.
Yeah, if you plant these in the ground, sometimes they will come back if the winter, sometimes they won't. They will never look like this. This is the result of many, many times of pruning and lots of fertilizer. So they'll be more open, but they will never be that, that...
Those big, gigantic ones you see?
That footstool-sized thing.
So what's the alternatives here?
So we have got some, this is chard, Swiss chard. They also call it 5-color silver beet, and it's got great stem color, yellow, pink, orange, super colorful,
really
and you can eat it.
You could eat this, sure.
You can.
Salad.
And we've got kales, of course, the ornamental kales, or cabbages. We have peppers, which we brought on the noon show, and they are edible, but probably not delicious.
Fair warning,
because
you have
it's
been
edible
warned.
doesn't mean you need to eat it.
It doesn't mean you should.
Right. And of course, the ornamental grasses are really good. I would say also, if you've got open spots in those containers, it's a perfect time to sow some veg. So there's lots of cool weather veg, like radishes would be great, little small carrots. You have nice arable soil in those pots. And so you could plant yourself some salad.
Really?
There's plenty of time for that.
You could put radish seeds in a pot.
Yes.
And you get radishes.
Absolutely.
I've learned something too today, Mark.
It's nature.
Now there's no excuse not to eat your veggies.
I thought root vegetables had to go in the ground.
Well, like things like potatoes and turnips and things like that, but little baby beets, they don't take up a lot of space.
And there's time yet.
Absolutely. Because the cooler the soil gets, the sweeter those vegetables will become. So those root crops are great for fall planting, for late summer and fall planting.
What's the latest you think, Lisa, that we can be thinking about planting some of this stuff?
I think that you can plant up until probably the early part of October. If you miss that window, then you can always buy some super cool squashes or weird pumpkins and put those in your pots. And then you put some sticks in there, and then pretty soon it's the C word, and it's time for Christmas.
Oh, thank you.
I know.
I'm just still getting over sowing some veggies.
Chard. There's the other C word.
Life moves fast. You got to keep up.
And it's too early for spring bulbs to plant those.
It's too early for spring bulbs. We have just gotten a few things in, like some iris and colchicum. That's like the fall blooming crocus. So once things come in, it's usually around after Labor Day. You can buy now for the best for the best choice.
Selection,
But generally, you're looking at early October before you start putting bulbs in. You want the soil to be cooling.
So let's stick with the
Yeah, stick with the color.
this stuff.
Yeah.
And these are all annuals.
These are all annuals, yes. Yes, they're all annuals. If you've got perennials in pots, it's time to move them into the ground if you want to save them.
Those need to go in the
Yeah,
ground.
absolutely.
All right.
A lot of moving and shaking.
Good suggestions as usual.
Nice seeing you guys.
Thanks, Lisa. We'll see you next time.
Yep.
I'll be right back with a final check of your forecast. Still working on get that humidity out of here.
Yeah, slow and steady. Right now it's still pretty comfortable. Unfortunately, we don't have a mostly sunny sky. Here's a live look at downtown with our Edgewater sky
That looks pretty
cam.
scunny. Sunny?
Sunny? That's cloudy and sunny
Yes,
together.
partly cloudy.
Partly cloudy, partly
Scunny.
sunny. There's a few clouds. We would like to have a little more sun is what I'm getting at. So here's a look at our visible cloud track. As you can see, if it were mostly sunny, there wouldn't be as much white stuff around, Mark. But unfortunately, again, the clouds come through, especially along the state line. So if you're south of Madison, probably seeing a little more cloud coverage. Central Wisconsin not looking too bad. Overnight, it will be mostly clear and pretty comfortable. Now, with those clouds, we do have some showers down in northern Illinois. None of them have really crossed over the state line. That's the good news. We're planning on staying dry this evening. We'll keep the showers well to the south. Right now, it is 76 in Madison. 69 in Lone Rock, and about 77 in Camp Douglas. So a really comfortable evening. Compared to this time yesterday, it is a drop for us in our temperatures. Our dew points, though, still holding on to about 60 around Madison. Notice, though, in Black River Falls in the low 50s. Same goes for La Crosse, so that's what we will be able to enjoy tomorrow. Once that drier air moves on in. So it will be very comfortable outside for Thursday and Friday. That's my kind of summer. I would like 70 and sunny.
You have my permission to use scunny.
Scunny. Yeah. Oh, good.
As a
Okay.
word.
I'll put a little
He is copywriting.
Right. Trademark. Okay.
Thanks, Dana. Tomorrow here on Live at 4, we'll find out what's happening in the 608 this weekend.
And cross our fingers for a scunny weekend. And we will find out what's happening on Heidelberg Street in Detroit is such a big deal. They are turning a neighborhood into art. We'll be right back.
In today's Final Touch, if you're in the market for a new car and you're in the 1% group, Monterey, California is the place to be this week.
Yeah, it's the Monterey Car Week, and the annual event is one of the hottest tickets in town. Electricity is in the air and in the cars. Lotus Evija made its first public appearance bill as the first British electric supercar and the most powerful cars ever made. That's pretty cool. It has